Interesting. We've paired two verses for our discussion tonight, and we'll get into that right after we offer the Prabhupada Pranam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine. So, welcome one and all. Let's review where we are at this point in Sri Isopanishad. And I've paraphrased here, so forgive me. It's not meant to minimize the importance of the entire translation, but I'd like us to get a sense of the vinyasa flow, if you will, of these mantras. The speaker begins Isopanishad by declaring that this majestic creation is complete, as are you and I. We are complete because we emanate from the complete whole. Do not hoard. There's no need to be concerned for your well-being. Isha has provided, Isha or Ishvara, the Supreme, has provided for all. And live freely in consciousness of Isha. Do not neglect the privilege. Live freely in this consciousness of Isha. Do not neglect the privilege of this holy life. Now, I've put in italics a bit of an experiment here. What, in light of what we know at the end of Isopanishad, what it is that the speaker may be implying in these earlier mantras. Bear in mind that what we know, having been to the end of Isopanishad and having looked at that reversal, that about face that takes place at the end, where the speaker almost becomes oblivious to us, the audience, and enters into this very, very poignant, direct discussion, this dialogue of prayer with the Supreme Being. So I've permitted myself to suggest what the speaker may be thinking as he or she provides these insights into the definition of ultimate origin. Have I, the speaker may be asking, been the negligent one? Am I the Atmahana, the killer of my own soul? Because we know that later, what does the speaker say? The speaker says, I've done a miserable job of serving you, but please don't neglect me. Please don't kick me away. My whole life has been to know you. If anything that I've done qualifies me for the least little bit of your attention and love, please bestow that upon me. So we're permitting ourselves to go inside the psychic situation of the speaker. Then the speaker goes on to say that Isha is swifter than the mind. Isha is within and without. What might that mean for the speaker? That therefore Isha knows what's in my heart, both the good and the bad. Then the speaker goes on to say, see everything. This is now still to the audience in that kind of intellectual, formal frame of speech. See everything in relation with Isha, and you will hate no one and you will hate nothing. If you see this way, why, then would there be any anxiety? There's no anxiety for someone who sees everything as the will of God. What's the inner mood at this point for the speaker? It might be, why then am I anxious? Is it that I have not done enough? Because we know at the end, the speaker admits to this, that I'm not in a good way. I'm not in a good frame of mind. So he's almost saying, you out there who have a chance to do better than I've done in my life, live free of the anxiety that characterizes my days and nights. And who is this Isha? The speaker asks. The greatest of all, the supreme person whose form is pure spirit. Then Isha goes on to say, the majestic creation is complete. Oh, wait, that's going back to the beginning again, excuse me. Oh, so now we've come to our mantra for the evening. Now we're going to do 9 and 10. So you're invited to repeat with me the lines one by one of the ninth mantra, and then we'll do the synonyms. Ninth mantra begins in this way: Andham tamak pravishanti. You're welcome to try that with me. Andham tamak pravishanti. Ye vidyam upasate. Ye vidyam upasate. Tato bhuya iva te tamo. Tato bhuya iva
Bhuya
te
Ivati
tamo.
Tamo
Ya u vidyayam rataha. Ya u
Yayu
vidyayam
Vidyayam
rataha.
Amrita.
So with the melody, Antang tamak pravishanti. Anham tamak
Tama
pravishanti.
Pravishanti
Ye vidyam upasate. Ye vidyam upasate.
Upasati
Tato bhuya ivate tamo. Tato
Tato
bhuya
Bhuya
ivate
Iviti
tamo.
Tamo
Ya u vidyayam rataha. Ya u
Yayu
vidyayam rataha.
Vidyayamritam.
Here are the synonyms for this ninth mantra. Andham, gross ignorance.
Ignorance.
Tama, darkness. Pravashanti, enter into. Ye, those who. Avidyam, nescience. These are vocabulary words that little by little you may find yourself becoming familiar with. The opposite of nescience or avidyam would be what? You just take away the A, the prefix A from the beginning of the Sanskrit word, and you have the opposite. So vidya would be knowledge, avidyam, darkness or ignorance or nescience. Upasate, worship. Tata, than that. Bhuya, still more. Eva, like. Te, they. Tama, darkness. That's another word that you might be familiar with by now from the three gunas, rajas, tamas, and sattva, goodness. Ye, those who. U, also. Vidyayam, in the culture of knowledge. Nrataha, engaged. Translation of this ninth mantra: those who are engaged in the culture of nescient activities, by which we may understand activities that are not favorable to spiritual progress. Those who are engaged in the culture of nescient activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the so-called culture of knowledge. I've again permitted myself to give you a possible interpretation of this mantra from the perspective of the speaker. The speaker says, those who are engaged in the culture of nescient activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the so-called culture of knowledge. What might the speaker be thinking? Is this me? I feel so far away from Isha, from my worshipable Lord. Have I allowed myself to become overcome by nescient activities, by distractions? So with each of these declarations, there's the opposite, you might say, psychological dimension, which is, I'm not up to this standard. Let me urge you to be, but I don't consider myself yet there. So we're going to couple this with mantra 10. We won't repeat this one, but I'll recite it, and you're welcome to recite it with me if you wish. Anyad evahur vidyaya, yadahur avidyaya, iti shrushruma dhiranam, yenastad vichachakshire. Translation of mantra 10. The wise have explained to us that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and it is said that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience. How might the speaker be processing this notion internally? I know this, the speaker may be thinking, yet I knowingly waste my time, my life with useless pursuits. So again, it's almost this exalting, there's elevating of ideal Vaishnav or devotional behavior, and the speaker feeling, I come so far short of that standard. So what was the point here? The point was to say that scripture, on the one hand, is teachings of wisdom. It's also an exposition on the life of the wise. So as we go through a text like Isopanishad, the character of the speaker is as important to our understanding of what is being said as the words and ideas themselves, meaning that ultimately prayer is an extraordinary, powerful resource, and I wanted to give you an example of that. The composite photo that you see here is a depiction of my teacher Prabhupada at the age of 70, which I will be next month. So I'll be next month the age he was when he got on board the cargo ship you see in the background on the right, called the Jaladuta, and left India in 1965 on the order of his guru to bring the teachings of Bhagavad Gita to the Western world. And he arrived in New York many days later, having suffered 2 heart attacks en route. He didn't know if he was going to survive. He felt as well that he had been reluctant, late, delayed, insufficiently attentive to the mission that his teacher had given him to bring the bhakti culture to the West. And he had received that from his teacher, Bhaktisiddhanta, as far back as 1921 or 22, I believe, when Prabhupada was in his mid-20s. And here he is now 70 years old and realizing the clock is ticking. I've got no choice. Let me get there somehow, and I will put myself in Krishna's hands. I'm 70 now. Who knows what I still have energy to do? But I have to try. It's almost that same mood that we're hearing from the speaker of Isopanishad. I have to do something. There's this urgency behind the language. This is a poem. What I'm about to read to you is an excerpt from a poem that Srila Prabhupada wrote on board the Jaladuta as he is arriving in port in the United States, having suffered 2 heart attacks with no idea of what awaits him. He had no money. The Indian government allowed him 20 rupees or something, and since rupees were a non-convertible currency, he literally came without any money at all, not a penny. He knew no one. He had no idea where to go or what to do. He had no support, no one's financial sponsorship or anything. He just cast his fate at Krishna's feet, got on board, and came to America. And this was the prayer that he wrote at that moment. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. I guess you must have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva, which is another name for Krishna, the son of Vasudeva and Devaki being his birth parents. I do not know how they will be able to understand it, but I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. How will they referring to people in America in particular, but around the world in the West, how will they understand the mellows of devotional service? Oh Lord, I'm simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I'm very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Now listen to this final stanza that he wrote. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it's up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. I'm sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their heart, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. Oh, Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance. Oh, Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated Bhaktivedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. And look how he signs this poem. The most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18th of September, 1965. There's a small portrait of him getting off the Jaladuta as he finally disembarks in New York the following day. They stopped in Boston for a day and then arrived in New York. So there it is. The power of prayer. You can try this on your own. You don't have to reveal this to anyone if you're feeling a little awkward about it. But if you want to make some really quick spiritual progress, there's a way to do it. Close the door. Go before whatever sacred place you have made for yourself in your home, whether it's a little shelf like I have, or a prayer rug, or a painting, or whatever your place of meditation is, and then just throw yourself on the ground and dig deep into your heart and pray like the speaker of Isopanishad, or like Prabhupada arriving in New York at age 70, not knowing anyone or what his fate would be, that my life has no meaning apart from whatever meaning you allow it to have. Please engage me in your service.
Oh, when Prabhupada got to New York and he said, I don't know why you have brought me to this terrible place. Is it possible that he thought he was in New Jersey?
Yeah, that there's a joke like that. You know, wouldn't two yogis are talking and one says to the other, wouldn't it be funny if that beautiful light at the end of the tunnel turned out to be Newark?
Right.
Yeah.
Would you mind reciting the two verses one more time, or putting them up?
Yeah, I think I can do that.
Thank you.
Do I go to screen share? Let's see, where is that? Here. So you want mantras 9 and 10? Is that what you're looking for? Let's see here. So here's mantra 9. Those who are engaged in the culture of nescient activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the so-called culture of knowledge. I cannot help but think that the speaker is referring to himself or herself. That's an impulse that I'm just unable to avoid. And the 10th mantra, the wise have explained to us that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and it is said that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience. Now, here's what's interesting about this. We're going to be reading in the upcoming mantras that the solution here is not to reject the material world or material knowledge or the life you have. It's to bring those two pieces together. It's to harmonize the material and spiritual sides of our life. That's what's interesting. Now, that'll be coming up. I think it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I was just curious on what your read is on the phrase so-called knowledge there. Is the speaker referring to?
Yeah, I got a lot to say about that. I taught at Hofstra University for 10 years.
Oh, go, man, go.
academic education essentially is an encouragement for making young people into lifelong skeptics. The whole ethos of modern education is there is no ultimate authority. You know, trust your own intuitions, and there's no need ultimately to refer to authority. It's all a matter of interpretation. It's a postmodernist approach to the pursuit of knowledge that, I mean, if you go into the deconstructionists like Derrida and others, that words only have meaning that we impose on them. It's kind of the diametric opposite of the Vedic prescription for honoring transcendental sound. You know, that the words are the same as the truth. There's no question of a relativistic interpretation. Krishna is there in his name. There's no need to interpret that. So it's, and I asked Prabhupada about this. I said, look, would you rather we just not, I mean, I had dropped out of college to join the temple. He said some people have that inclination. They have the capacity for knowledge, and he encouraged those people to finish their college degrees, go on to higher studies, and he was always very proud of his scholar disciples. You know, his students like Rabindra Swarup. What a wonderful, brilliant devotee, spiritual teacher he is. PhD in religion from University in Philadelphia. And I mean, it's not that he was against it. It's just that the ethos of education is to question ultimate authority on all sides, particularly religious authority. So it's risky. I don't know if I had met Krishna teachings today, having gone through my own higher studies, whether I would be as open to embracing them and making them a part of my life as I was at age 19. When I was 19, I was very impressionable. I didn't have those same prejudices, you might say, toward religious authority, scriptural authority. And I don't know if today I would have that same openness of mind because of this ethos in the educational system.
This weekend, I was thinking about the purpose of Easter. Why do we celebrate Easter and the life of Christ? And also thought about Hanuman. And what you've said so far today reminds me of what I was thinking this weekend, in the sense that it takes tremendous courage for these beings who have given their service to us to help to educate us as to who we really are and to reevaluate our purpose in being here from a spiritual perspective.
Oh, what a nice reflection that is. I hadn't thought of it in quite that way. You're quite right. Well, I don't think I can think, Cher, of one spiritual teacher, not one, whose life has been smooth as silk. I can't think of one, including Hanuman. I mean, look what Hanuman went through. He went through the worst kind of self-recriminations and doubts. And he said, I can't do this. I can't leap over this ocean. He had absolutely no self-confidence at all, you know, and had to go through battles, you know, to demonstrate his love for Lord Rama. It's a very, very good point. That's a very, very good point. It's almost as though nothing good comes without sacrifice. And certainly the greatest good will require from us the greatest sacrifices. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
You're talking about with education. So with people who are so science driven, which I know maybe last week you mentioned your brother. It's funny because I have a friend who he is like a science minded person. He's actually a big fan of your brother's work. And I've talked to him. How do you, when you have conversations with someone coming from that angle, how do you reconcile that almost? Not to argue, but like, and I know we probably don't even have enough time. You probably go off on a long tangent about it, I'm sure, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I hope I'm making sense. Like, how do you explain, like, to someone that has just such that analytical mind, they don't really understand, like, where we're coming from a bhakti standpoint?
Yeah, it's a good question. Often I think we struggle with these two parts of our own thought process. One, which is the experiential, emotional side, which is very drawn to Krishna and devotional service and the chanting and the poetry of prayer. There's that part of us that's drawn in that way. Then there's the other side, the rational side that says deities, the part of us that says this is all Hindu. And the part of us that kind of recoils from the idea of something that's not based in rational, physicalist knowledge, something that can be tested. How do you test faith? How do you test consciousness? How do you test the melting of the heart and the approach to some divinity in love? How do you do that? How do you know that that's real? There's no evidence. Show me the evidence. So I think we all, to some degree, can test with these two apparently contradictory approaches to knowledge. What I can tell you, I mean, first of all, I love my brother deeply and admire him tremendously. I think he's a brilliant mind. And I cherish my conversations with him more than I can say. And what's interesting is in recent years, he's come round to, shall we say, a softer position on matters of the heart and the notion of some non-physicalist dimension to the cosmos. For many years, he was adamantly opposed to that. And then he described going back and reading William James's book, Varieties of Religious Experience, and saying that he's found now, I think on reflection, that this other dimension, this non-empiric, non-rational intuition, you might say, that we have, that there's some greater mystery out there. There's something that compels us to move beyond the limitations of our minds and bodies, that has great significance, that can be the birthplace of inspiration, of art, of poetry, of moving past our perceived limitations. And so I think that the introspective scientists and physicists and so on, like the introspective religionists and philosophers and poets, there's a point of confluence. There's a joining that takes place where we're all searching for that same peak of the mountain, that mystery of life. And some people are coming at it from a rational perspective, some from a more spontaneous, intuitive perspective. But ultimately, when you get to the top of that mountain, it's the same for all of us. It's a wonderful question. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Unfortunately, once again, we're at the end of our time. Gosh darn it. But it's always a pleasure to spend this half hour with you. And I look forward to our time again tomorrow. Please join me in the Vaishnav Pranam. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Have a wonderful evening. Be well. Chant sincerely. And I'll see you all tomorrow.